Hi, I am Issa Ibrahim. The manner in which elections are held in any given democratic society greatly influences representation and governance as well as the confidence of the people. In the immortal words of Winston Churchill, at some point in time, democracy is not perfect, but it is the best system of the government that we have discovered to date. The society electoral system is one of the major elements of democracy, and in United Kingdom, their system is referred to as first past the post, also known as FPTP. Although FPTP has been lauded as simple and has the track record of delivering strong and stable governments, it has likewise been denounced as being unfair and disproportionate and not necessarily representing the greater voices of the people. In this presentation, we are going to describe the workings of FPTP system in the UK, its pros and cons, and what could be done to make it more fair and representative. We shall also contrast how the UK uses FPTP with the way it is used in other Commonwealth countries, which will provide a broader view on how electoral systems define democracies across the world. Thank you.
The first past the post system, also known as a simple majority system, is a form of electoral system that is used to elect the members of parliament to Westminster. Additionally, it is also known as one of the oldest and simplest electoral systems yet. The term first past the post literally defines the system as a practice of awarding the position to the most voted candidate. The first past the post system is commonly used amongst countries with liberal democracies. Britain, for instance, where almost every member of parliament would be elected to be a representative for their respective electoral district. The process begins on election day when the voters would receive a ballot paper with a list of member of parliament candidates that represent each constituency. This means that each party will only have one candidate to pick from because the party is represented through that one candidate. The voters mark beside their favorite candidate's name. However, if they aren't confident about the chances of their favorite candidate winning, they're allowed to pick another candidate which they believe has a higher chance of winning the election. As for the voters that don't favor the candidate but support the party that's represented instead, they will have to either vote for a candidate they don't favor or a party that they don't support. In a general election, 650 constituencies around the country would compete in separate contests. To become a member of parliament, a candidate will have to earn the highest number of votes compared to other candidates amongst their constituency in order to win the seat in parliament. Unfortunately, even if a party were to be supported and chosen by a great number of voters, it wouldn't really matter if the voters were spread out throughout the UK. This means that even if a party gets a large number of votes, they may only win a few parliamentary seats if their supporters are spread out. Meanwhile, another party with fewer total votes would win more seats if their supporters are concentrated in the same areas. This explains why a party's number of member of parliaments rarely matches with their actual public popularity level, also known as false majority. The first past the post system creates two types of areas, the safe seats and the swing seats. Safe seats are areas where the same party will always win, hence demotivating the other candidates from trying during their elections, whereas swing seats are areas where the winners would vary from election to election. Thus, parties will put greater effort into focusing on the election. Due to this, parties will make promises that focus on appealing to the voters in swing seats rather in the safe areas, significantly influencing campaign strategies. However, despite being the most widespread electoral system used in 4 of the largest democracies in the world and covering 43% of the world's population, it has been heavily scrutinized in recent decades. This led to scholars ranking the first past the post system as one of the less desirable electoral systems.
Hi, I'm Chloe. The first past the post FPTP electoral system has several strengths that help in UK general elections. One of its advantages is the simplicity and familiarity. It is easy and understandable for voters to select a candidate, and the candidate with the most votes win in a constituency. As former Prime Minister Harold Wilson once remarked, the first past the post system is simple and has a good record of producing strong, stable government. This simplicity reduces confusion of voters, speeds up the counting process, and guarantees election results are quick and clear. As Johnston notes in the UK Parliament briefing, FPTP is straightforward. Voters mark a single X and the candidate with the most votes is elected. This simplicity of FPTP allows the quickness and clarity of election results as seen in the recent general elections. Another key strength of FPTP is the strong relationship between members of parliament and their constituents. Since each constituency elects one MP, constituents know who represents them in parliament. This creates accountability and encourages MPs to be responsive to local concerns. Queen shared an example of the British general election in 2024, where voters used their single vote to hold the Conservative government accountable and to mandate a Labour replacement. This connection enhances the responsibility of democracy and helps build trust in the political system. FPTP often allows only one party to win a majority of seats in parliament to ensure a winning party forms strong and stable government. This leads to the single-party governments that can reduce coalition between parties. David Cameron's report from the Constitution Society highlights that the FPTP electoral system in the UK tends to produce single-party majority governments, which are more stable and cohesive than coalition or minority governments. He also shared that the stability is due to the fact that FPTP grants seats to the candidate with the most votes in each single-member constituency, allowing one party to secure a majority of seats even if it does not receive a majority of the popular vote. Moreover, FPTP favors larger and broad-based parties, limiting political fragmentation and preventing a fractured parliament dominated by many small parties with fragmented legislatures. According to Thomas, the principal contest remains between the two major parties, which are Labour and the Conservative, although there are presence of smaller parties like Reform UK and the Greens. However, it is still possible for smaller parties to find a role within two parties' competitions. Thomas illustrates how the Liberal Democrats position themselves mainly as an anti-conservative force in affluent rural areas where Labour faced challenges historically. They benefited significantly from anti-conservative during the 1997 and 2024 general elections, which led to Labour victories. FPTP favors larger parties and limits fragmentation, but the smaller parties can still succeed by strategically positioning themselves, especially in areas where one major party is weak. The system also provides a direct choice of government. Voters know which party is most likely to form the government based on their vote generally. It can avoid the uncertainty, complexity, and backroom negotiations, which are often seen in coalition systems. The Constitution Society reports give an example of the UK general election in 2010, where no single party winning a majority leads to a coalition government between the Conservative and the Liberal Democrats. However, as noted by May and Gay, this election resulted in a coalition government, highlighting the complexity and negotiations that FPTP normally avoids when there is a clear majority. It shows that the directness is crucial for clarity and accountability in politics. In conclusion, the first-past-the-post electoral system plays a significant role in shaping the UK's democratic landscape. Its key strengths such as simplicity, strong anti-constitution relationships, government stabilities, and clear electoral outcomes have contributed to its continued use in general elections. While FPTP favors major parties such as the Liberal Democrats and the SNP show that smaller parties can still succeed under specific conditions. As democracy evolves, the system must also adapt, and FPTP will continue to be scrutinized regarding the democratic growth. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dexter. The first past the post FPTP electoral system has several notable weaknesses, despite being simple and easy to implement. One of the most significant weaknesses of the FPTP system is its tendency to induce disproportionate representation, as a party could win a majority of seats even without securing a majority of the popular vote, leading to unfair representation in the legislature. An example of unfair representation under the FPTP system in the United Kingdom occurred during 2015 general election. During the election, the Conservative Party won a majority government with 36.9% of the popular vote, securing 331 out of 650 seats in parliament, which gave them over 50% of the seats that allowed them to govern alone, despite the fact that nearly two-thirds of the voters voted for other parties. The most striking case of disproportionate representation involved the UK Independence Party (UKIP). UKIP secured 12.6% of the national vote, which is over 3.8 million votes, but only won one seat in parliament. In contrast, the Scottish National Party (SNP) received only 4.7% of the national vote, which is around 1.5 million votes, and was able to secure 56 seats. This discrepancy occurred because the SNP's support was geographically concentrated in Scotland, while UK's IP's support was spread more evenly around the UK, which made it difficult for them to win constituencies outright under the FPTP system. This election exposed the distorting effects of FPTP, as a party could win a large number of votes but have little to no representation, while others with lesser votes acquire significant power. The 2015 result sparked widespread public criticism and renewed calls for electoral reform in the UK, mainly from the smaller parties and disenfranchised voters who felt that their voices were not reflected in parliament. This proportionate representation sets as a problem as it undermines the core of the democratic principle of one person, one vote. Every vote should carry equal weight in a fair system, and the composition of the legislature should reflect the actual preferences of the votes. However, unfair outcomes where some voices are overrepresented and others are ignored tend to happen when representation is disproportionate, such as when a party wins the majority of seats without the majority of votes, resulting in governments that lack broad public support that makes their legitimacy questionable. During the UK general election 2024, the Labour Party secured around 34% of the popular vote, yet managed to win 63% of seats in parliament. Having this result illustrates how a party can govern with immense power without having the help of majority voters. In contrast, Reform UK won only 0.8% of the seats, which is 5 seats, with 14.3% of the national vote, while the Liberal Democrats, who received fewer votes than Reform UK, ended up having 72 seats. This imbalance states how FPTP distorts the transfer of votes in legislative power. Along with that, another major flaw of FPTP is high amount of wasted votes, as votes for losing candidates or excess votes for winning candidates do not make any effect on the results, which cause many votes to be effectively wasted. Not only that, FPTP also tends to marginalize smaller parties and independent candidates, as the system favors the candidate with the highest amount of votes in each constituency. Even though smaller parties receive a significant portion of the national vote, they tend to struggle to win any seats. This leads to a political environment dominated by two major parties and discourages the emergence of a new political voices. In conclusion, while the first past the post system provides simplicity and quick determination of winners, its inherent flaws consist of serious challenges to fair and democratic representation, as it often fails to reflect the true will of the electorate, limits political diversity, and discourages voter participation.
I'm Wen Qi. To address the weaknesses mentioned earlier, several potential reforms can be considered, including the alternative vote, proportional representation, and the mixed system. As Jeff King points out, there's a growing public desire for change, reflected in consistent opinion poll trends. The alternative vote system allows voters to rank candidates in preferential order, with the option to rank any number of candidates by optional preferential approach. The candidate receiving more than 50% of the votes wins. But if no one achieves this, the least voted candidate is eliminated, and their votes redistributed according to preference rankings. This continues until a candidate has more than 50% of the votes. AB was proposed in the 5th May 2011 referendum, as provided for by the Parliamentary Voting System and Constituencies Act 2011. The government believed this to be essential in mending the political system. AB, ensuring majority support, tackles FPTP's flaw of winning with a minority. Moreover, by transferring votes to the next preferred candidate, fewer votes are wasted. However, no electoral system is flawless. The Jenkins Commission rejected the system in its 1998 report on the grounds that it fails to provide any meaningful proportionality and may produce outcomes even less proportional than with FTPP. Besides that, Francis Banyan questions whether second preferences carry the same weight as first choices, challenging respect for a voter's intention and being unfair. While AB addresses FPTP's weakness of majority support, its potential for unstable coalitions undermine FPTP's strength of single-party governments, as praised by Harold Wilson. Proportional representation allocates seats proportionately to a party's share of votes. According to Hansard, a Liberal Democrat recently pushed for its adoption. The Labour Party has also shown constant support. There were 153 submissions on PR in the 2021 Labour Party conference, and in 2022, it supported a resolution supporting it. The British Social Attitudes Survey shows rising support for PR from 35% in 1983 to 51% by 2021. Despite this, PR remains only an ideal. Labour's Stammer affirmed it's not a party priority. With significant opposition, past reform efforts like the 2010 Committee on an Elected Upper Chamber collapsed. While England has only debated change, Wales decidedly switched to PR for the Senedd elections, while the Senedd Cymru Members and Elections Act 2024. Further back, South Africa already made the switch in 1994, during its first non-racial elections for multi-ethnic representation. These decisions were fueled by the PR's strengths, namely its ability to combat underrepresentation. Women especially benefit from this system, allowing wider political participation. PR also ensures fairer representation regarding votes, unlike FPTP. It allows smaller parties to win seats instead of only two parties dominating. George Latzers described PR as a moral ideal based on democracy, where each vote matters equally. Accordingly, it may be argued that PR reflects voter intent more fairly than FPTP. However, it is criticized, for example, by Francis Banyan, who contends that fairness is subjective. FPTP results in a clear outcome with a direct manifesto, but PR can blur that. This is due to PR likely leading to coalition governments with fragmented policies. It is a war between definite outcomes and equal representation. History warns us with the Weimar Republic, which showed how PR leads to fragmented coalitions. Chrysogonos and Stratilatis add that democracy does not mean reflecting every diverse preference, but prioritizing a wise government capable of decision-making. Moreover, since parties are voted for instead of candidates, MPs' accountability towards local constituencies are weakened. PR solves FTTP's underrepresentation, while instead reducing direct MP-constituent relationships and stability. The additional member system combines FPTP and PR. It's used in Scotland and Wales and the London Assembly, and internationally as mixed member proportional in Germany and New Zealand. Voters cast two ballots. one for a constituency candidate and one for a party list. In Scotland, 73 members of the Scottish Parliament are elected by FPTP, and 56 by proportional top-up from party lists. AMS was established in the UK through the Scotland Act 1998 and Greater London Authority Act 1999. New Zealand made the switch following referendums in 1992 and 1993. The Jenkins Commission recommended AMS as it decreases disproportionality and geographical division, while preserving FPTP strengths. Furthermore, smaller parties marginalized under FPTP gain representation through party lists, even if they struggle for local seats. AMS's hybrid nature suits UK's uncodified constitution, offering flexibility without having to adjust statutes. However, while fairer than FPTP, it still gives parties control over party list order, limiting voter influence. It also creates two types of MPs, constituency and list, creating tension as only constituency MPs handle local issues. It is arguably the most feasible reform as it offers a balance between representation and proportionality, aligning with Wilson's ideal of a stable government. Despite viable reforms and public support, electoral reform may interfere with parliamentary sovereignty, as shown in R. Miller against Prime Minister, which held that constitutional changes require parliamentary consent. Each system attempts to fix flaws in FPTP, yet all have trade-offs. The absence of reform is likely due not to a lack of options, but to political hesitation and a desire to maintain existing systems. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Grace. The first past the post FPTP electoral system remained one of the most widely used voting methods globally, especially in former British colonies and Commonwealth nations. The following examines the implementation and consequences of FPTP in 5 district democracies: the United Kingdom, Canada, India, Bangladesh, and Kenya. Through this comparative analysis, we explore how the same electoral system produces varying political outcomes based on each country's unique social, cultural, and historical context, while consistently demonstrating certain systemic flaws that challenge the democratic representations. The United Kingdom, as the originator of the FPTP system, presents a paradigmatic case of its strengths and weaknesses. In British general election, FPTP often produces a clear winner and a stable single-party government. However, in the 2010 coalition between the Conservative and the Liberal Democrats highlights how the system can sometimes result in hung parliaments while no party secures a majority. However, the system disproportionality became starkly apparent in 2019 when the Conservative Party secured a 56% of parliamentary seats with merely 43% of the popular votes. Smaller parties like the Liberal Democrats and the Greens consistently suffer underrepresentation. In 2015, UKP garnered 12.6% of the votes but only won 1 seat. While FPTP maintains a strong constituency representation and delivers decisive governments, its failure to translate the votes into seats proportionally has fueled persistent calls for reforms, including proposals for mixed members proportionally system that could better reflect voters' preferences while maintaining the local representations. Canada's experience with FPTP mirrors many British patterns, but with distinct regional dimensions. The 2011 federal elections saw the Conservative Party win a majority government with 166 seats with only 39.6% of votes, while the 2015 election produced similar distortion favoring the Liberals. Canada's vast geography and regional diversity amplify FPTP's tendency to deliver a regionally concentrated representation at the expense of smaller national parties. The Green Party's consistent but geographically dispersed support rarely translates into proportional seat allocation. This dynamic has led to serious discussion about the electoral reform, including a 2016 Parliamentary Committee recommendation to adopt a proportional voting system, though the implementation has stalled due to the political inertia. Canada's case demonstrates how the FPTP can provide stable governance while systematically disadvantaging the certain political perspective and regional interests. While both Canada and the UK experienced disproportionate results under FPTP, Canada's regional diversity amplified this effect after leading to significant underrepresentation of geographically dispersed parties like the Greens. Next, India's implementation of FPTP operates on an unprecedented scale with over 900 million eligible voters across the 543 constituencies. The system has produced remarkably stable government in the world's largest democracy, but at significant cost to minority representation and political discourse. The BJP's 2019 victory, winning 55% of seats with only 37.4% of votes, highlights the system's majoritarian tendencies. More troubling is FPTP's interaction with the Indian complex social fabric, encouraging vote bank politics where parties appeal to caste, religious, and regional identities rather than policy reform. Muslim representations remain particularly disproportionate, comprising 14% of the population but only 5% of the MPs in 2019. While FPTP has helped consolidate India's party system and enable decisive governance, critics argue it has also deepened the social division and marginalized minority voices in the political process. Although FPTP in both India and UK contributes to stable governments, India's vast and diverse electorate causes the system to reinforce social division and marginalize minorities, which is the effect that are less pronounced in the UK's, which have a more homogeneous political landscapes. Next, Bangladesh presents perhaps the most troubling case of FPTP's potential for democratic distortion. The system has facilitated near total dominance by the Awami League, which won 96% of parliamentary seats in 2018 with about 74% of votes amid widespread allegations of electoral manipulation. The 2024 election saw this anti-democratic tendency intensify with opposition candidates being disqualified, party members arrested, and credible reports of ballots stuffing. FPTP's winners take all logic, combined with the weak institutional safeguards, has enabled the erosion of competitive politics in Bangladesh. By amplifying parliamentary majorities from mere pluralities of votes, the system has effectively institutionalized one-party rule, showing how FPTP can undermine democracy, especially when combined with the authoritarian practices. While both the UK and Bangladesh uses FPTP, Bangladesh's weak institutional checks and the history of electoral manipulation have allowed the system to entrench one-party dominance in stark contrast to the UK's competitive multi-party democracy. Kenya's experience illustrates FPTP's destabilizing potential in ethnically divided societies. The system has reinforced ethnic voting patterns, with parties representing tribal rather than ideological constituencies. Smaller national parties like the Tuareg Alliance Kenya and the Mandela Chap Chap consistently fail to win seats despite the substantial nationwide support, as their votes are spread too thinly across the constituencies. Most alarmingly, FPTP has contributed to post-election violence, especially after the disputed 2007 result that sparked clashes killing over 1,000 people. Kenya's case illustrates how the zero-sum nature of FPTP can intensify social division, especially when the political competition aligns with ethnic identities, ultimately threatening the national cohesion. Unlike the UK, where FPTP fosters relatively peaceful political competition, Kenya's use of the system has intensified ethnic division and contributed to electoral violence, highlighting the system's destabilizing effects in socially fragmented societies. The comparative analysis shows the consistent patterns across the 5 nations using FPTP. It overrepresents the larger parties, underrepresents smaller ones, and often create majority governments from minority vote shares, raising concerns about democratic legitimacy. FPTP can also worsen social divisions such as ethnic, religious, or regional, while failing to reflect voters' preferences proportionally. In conclusion, FPTP distorts representation, entrenches power, and can undermine the democratic stability. While national outcomes vary, it conflicts with core democratic principles like fairness and equality is consistent. As trust in democracy declines, rethinking systems like FPTP may be crucial for restoring effective representation.
So, to conclude everything, as Winston Churchill famously said, democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others that have been tried. The same could be said of the first past the post system. While valued for its simplicity and stability, FPTP often falls short in fairness and representation. This raises an important question: should elections simply produce quick results, or it truly reflects the diversity and the will of the people? Reforms such as proportional representation or mixed systems may involve trade-offs, but they offer a pathway towards more inclusive and representative democracy, one that better serves the societies it governs. Thank you.